were dragons when I was a boy. Where they went, only a few know. Our story changed the world forever.
Hey everybody, Brandon here, and I am back with another spoiler-free movie review. As you may have read in the title, this week I saw How to Train Your Dragon 3, The Hidden World. Sounds an awful lot like a Jurassic Park title, but that's neither here nor there. I'm here to talk about How to Train Your Dragon. So full disclosure, I loved the first movie, and I didn't actually see it in the theater. I waited and waited and waited. Finally saw it on video at home, and I regretted it. And finally saw it at home on video, and I regretted not going to the theater where I could get the full cinematic experience. But that said, it was one of my favorite animated movies. I think it still has one of the best soundtracks of any animated movie, of any movie really. John Powell, who did the score, I think was robbed for an Academy Award. I think he should have won. I think that was 2011. Great movie. That said, I will not let my fandom bias my opinion of the movie, so I'm going to be upfront and honest with what I think about it, and you'll get that through this review here.
We did it! The world's first dragon Viking utopia.
Your utopia, maybe. Mine's less crowded and more... sanitary.
So How to Train Your Dragon 3 picks up a couple years after the second one. During this time, the youth of Berk have been out saving dragons from poachers and from other nefarious villains trying to capture them for whatever reasons. So currently, the dragon population of Berk is exploding, literally. They just can't hold any more dragons. So Hiccup has become chief, so he needs to deal with that. He needs to deal with the town problems. He's dealing with his personal issues. He's still grieving for his father. He has just been reunited with his mother and trying to build a relationship with her. Of course, there's him and Astrid, and as always is the lovable Toothless, his ever-loving companion who is always there with him. So at this point, Berk has developed a bit of a reputation for saving dragons. Also, because of how many they have, they're kind of notorious for a large dragon population, which kind of put a target on the city or town for these other evil organizations. One of these organizations is a group of warlords who are trying to take over the region. And because they can't really fight against this large dragon population, they've hired the services of Gimel the Grizzly. Gimel is a dragon hunter who has almost single-handedly killed all the Night Furies. And he is out to capture Toothless. Since Toothless is now the alpha and the other dragons follow him, the idea is if they take him back to the warlords, they'll be able to capture the dragons and use them as their own dragon army to take over the world.
I've hunted every Night Fury except yours. Hand him over.
I will never give him up.
Then I will destroy everything you love.
So I don't want to get too much deeper into the story. Again, I am trying to keep spoilers out, so I won't say any more about that. In fact, there really isn't a lot more to the story. A little bit, but not too much more. And as far as characters go, that's it. They've really kept it to kind of the core characters that we learned about in the first and second movie, and Gimel. And that's really it, which I liked. There's a tendency in third movies to kind of pack in more people, and it just makes for a more watered down story. And in this case, we just have the core characters and, of course, the villain. Now, the villain, I would say, is one of the weaker characters in the series. It acted very well. I do like the character. It's just his motivation is basically, I want to kill dragons. And that's it. When you compare that to somebody like Drago from the second one, where there's actually a political motivation, there's moral questions involved. It's a much more complex story with a character like that. But again, not bad, just weaker. So there's really two stories going on here. The first is, of course, Gimel trying to take Toothless. But the second story is, and I think the more interesting story, is kind of just the relationships that Hiccup has with the different characters, how he's dealing with Berg, how he's leading them as a chief, his relationship with Astrid, with his mother, and of course with Toothless. Toothless also gets a romantic interest, which is fun. Being a Night Fury, of course, he had to get a Light Fury for his romantic endeavor. But it's a fun story and really interesting.
Hey, bud, wait up! Oh my God, he's not the only one.
She's a Light Fury.
Oh, sorry.
Did she just disappear?
Now, all that said, this is really Hiccup's movie. Toothless kind of takes a back seat to really the story of Hiccup, and to be fair, this really has been Hiccup's story from the very beginning. Even though Toothless has been a part and all these other characters have been a part of the story, it really is his from beginning to end. So it's appropriate, but let's face it, you can never have too much Toothless.
Toothless, go introduce yourself.
Found my heart, broke it, made friends and lost them through the years.
Toothless has a girlfriend.
So there you have it. Two stories, the fight of Berk, but also kind of this overarching story of the development of Hiccup. Both good stories. The Berk story is really more of a narrative push, something to move the plot along to get Hiccup to grow, but nonetheless important, though it does, as I said, take kind of a back seat. Now, one thing I do have to mention without getting too spoilery here is that this is the final movie in the trilogy, and this puts a bow onto the entire series. It is a definitive end, which on one hand, I'm a little disappointed that there won't be any more to this story. On the other hand, it does leave it open for more stories, just not this particular one. This definitely ends this arc, and it's nice to see a final conclusion. It's kind of the Ewok dance in the Return of the Jedi. It's something that tells you this story is closed, and we're not going to be pushing past this. Now, again, there could be other stories later. There certainly is a huge world to work with here, just not this particular one. So, for better or worse, that's kind of how this concludes. Overall, really good movie. I enjoyed it. Now, you kind of have to look at this in two ways. The first is as a standalone movie. As a standalone movie, it was good. Visually, it was absolutely amazing. The technology has improved vastly since the first one, and it shows. It's a beautiful to watch movie. The soundtrack is no less epic than the first one, and the two paired very well together.
But out there, beyond the edge of the world, lies the home of the dragons. And I believe it's your destiny to one day find this hidden world.
On the story front, It's okay. Not the best story, but also not the worst. I would say of the three movies, it's probably the weakest there. Character-wise, I would say this is probably the second best one. Hiccup really develops through the movie, really comes to some conclusions on his own, and I think that is really interesting to watch. Now, the other way to look at this movie is from the perspective of the trilogy. Now, if you look at it that way, this movie is absolutely fantastic, just because it really puts a cap onto this story, and it builds from everything previously. If you didn't watch the first two movies, you'll still be able to follow what's going on. You'll kind of understand what they're doing and some of the motivation, but you miss out on that earlier character development that it kind of relies on as far as motivation, what makes these characters tick. So from the larger scheme standpoint, I would say it's actually a better movie than it is just on its own. Let me know what you think about it. If you've seen the movie, let me know if you agree, if you disagree, if you liked it. Just comment below. If you like this review, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. I'll try to get another one of these up next week. I'm not sure what movie's coming out, but I pretty much see one every week. And I'll also try to get another Haku video up soon. You guys have a great day, and see you next time.
One.